when they're on the whole board, which is kind of thought.
Okay.
But that would be a great idea. As
I
chairman
mean,
of
to me, it would be a little bit daunting to come in and
yeah.
not.
Recording in progress.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item listed on our agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 28th, 2022. Anybody have any corrections or additions for those meeting minutes? So they stand approved as written.
Madam Chair, could we just do a roll call really quick to identify which board members are present?
I thought our rules didn't have to do a motion on those.
We put it on the agenda, so I figured if you wanted to do that. Okay, maybe we could take it off, June. Call off the agenda.
Oh, your roll call of who's here?
Yeah, roll call of who's attending today. Not for a vote of approval.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you're saying roll call vote for.
No, I apologize. It's a roll call of
Okay.
who is in
Roll call
attendance.
is, we have
Neil Barker here.
and Jeanette Borkland here. Okay. Agenda item number 2.01 BOA 2022-2, a variance to 4 1/8 for the fence to be located along the south side of lot 2 of the Hadley Homestead subdivision. Felix.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. What I'll start with is just a kind of a quick information about the general location. So this is in the western unincorporated River area. It's off of 43 West, the address 1885 South, 4300 West. Looking at the same screen as everybody else. So this the aerial image there on this screen shows the applicant's home. You can see in their backyard they have a pool and a sport court back there, and then you also see the school grounds. That's the high school. It's going to be built there. They're already in progress. They've already started building, and this main road you see, that's 43 West Street. It's a public road in unincorporated Weaver County. And excuse me, let me go back. So today's request is for a 2-foot variance to the maximum fence height. And what I'll do is I'll walk through the code criteria, and also the site plan and some of the special circumstances surrounding this property. So the land use code has a portion that regulates all fences. In this case, a fence that's not more than 6 feet may be located anywhere on an interior lot, except the area comprising the front yard setback. In the second portion is related to basically there's state code that would regulate fences for public utility, maybe that's subdivisions or substations and public schools. The variance request again is a 2-foot variance to the fencing requirements. And the portion that is affected is just the southern side, that boundary that's shared with the high school. These are the special circumstances that exist. And you have the high school, but you also have a swimming pool in the backyard. Here's a site plan showing the intention. You have that area in red is the 8-foot fence location. And the area marked in green is that's the minimum yard setback area. So that one, the maximum height is 4. That's what the variance request entails. Here's a photo of the school site plan. You can see on the bottom right-hand corner, the Hadley property. The area in yellow is the fence location. You can see the school site plan indicates the school building being pushed up right up against the street, but then you also have the student parking lot there on that side. Here's a site photo that was sent to me by the Hadleys. This is showing some of the landscaping that's taking place there. You can also see the straight line that runs back along the school property, the Hadley property. And also the Hadleys would like to build this concrete fence. It looks like wood. It's kind of like a rustic look to it. And the Board of Adjustment responsibility in this case was to find that the criteria for issuing the variance are met. In this case, all the criteria should be met. Does the enforcement of the land use code cause a hardship that is not necessary to carry out the general purpose of the land use code? Is the hardship located on or associated with the property? The hardship may not be self-imposed or economic. There are special circumstances that apply to only this property. Does the hardship complained of deprive the property of privileges granted to other properties? Is a variance essential to the enjoyment of a substantial property right? Will it substantially affect the general plan? And will it not be contrary to public interest? And the last one there is the spirit of the land ordinance observed, and is substantial justice done? Okay, so Ms. Hadley is here in the audience with us today. That kind of concludes just kind of walking through the finer points and details, and I'd be happy to answer any questions as well as Ms. Hadley's. Thank you.
Any questions?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, can we call you back up if we have some?
Most definitely.
All right.
Yeah, we're just looking to just have the fence. Yes, sorry, Heather Hadley, 1885 4300 West. We live on this property that he's talking about. So we're just wanting to put the fence a little bit higher, just on the south side of our house is the only place in the backyard. Just right up where the school's parking lot would be, just for more privacy and, you know, keep those kids out. So that's what we're asking. So I can answer any more questions.
I'm just curious, do the neighbors have any concerns or?
We don't have neighbors.
Just
We
all
don't have
alone?
any in the back. My mother-in-law lives to the north of us. So the rest of the fence would be 6 feet like normal. And she already has hers up. The property behind us, my mother-in-law owns. Our neighbors across the street, they're like, do you need us to come to help you? And I'm like, no, I think you just come if you don't. So we've just heard that they're like, yeah, we see why you want to do it. So yeah, our only neighbors will be a parking lot and my mother-in-law.
Any other questions? No. I know that my people that I've worked with before they do things differently, but I am willing and ready to make a motion if you are available for motions, Chair. You're receiving motion. Okay. And then we'll speak to that motion. And we can discuss. Okay, thank you. I move that we grant that we approve BOA 2022-0002, BOA 2022-002, the Hadley Homestead subdivision, to grant them the permission to build the fence 2 feet higher, just in that one particular area as it's written in the application. And the reason for that is because we don't have any say as people, residents, where schools are built. So we can't just say, oh, well, they knew that was going to happen, because they didn't. I've looked at the property. They've got a beautiful yard, which is really none of our business, but they do. And the property behind them is vacant land, which is now we know is owned, which would not make any difference anyway. But if I were to have a bunch of kids that were going to be in the parking lot at that point, right there, the furthest area from the school, and only have a 6-foot fence, I would feel very much invaded upon. So it's not my personal opinion as far as what I would do, but I do think that as a board, this would be a very good use of our authority to grant her this request. We just need a second, and then we can discuss.
Address each of the things for the things that we need to know. I'm sorry, I can't share. I read them down. I read through the whole entire, oh, hi.
Okay.
I'm sorry for being late.
Oh, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you and your beard. Sorry. No, I can't, because I read through the entire thing, looked at it, gave it its proper due, but I did not write everything down, so. It is a hardship. I think it's a hardship. I think that. Knowing the school was coming. Right. Same, right? Yeah. I think I addressed pretty much all of that. Yeah.
All right, Laura, I like how you work. This is quick. I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Favor say aye.
Hi.
Hi.
Opposed?
Surprised you didn't ask for a 14-foot fence. Yeah, don't get well. When we are determined, we can do things we want to do, but don't do it.
6 feet is nothing compared to taller than that. To BOA 2022-03, allow driveway within.
Hi, board members. It's good to see all of you. Good to be with you. Got to be careful with this mic. I saw Charlie try to eat it the other day. He got really close to it. We have a request, BOA 2022-03. The applicant is Matt Lowe, and it's a request to allow a shared driveway within the 100-foot stream corridor setback in the Ogden Valley. I've got a few things to show on the screen here that I prepared. And I would recommend, just as a variance is considered, that you do touch on all of the specific 5 criteria, in case there could be, I guess there could be ramifications if we don't specifically go over each one of these and determine that each of them were met as each of these applications are considered. So Felix went through them pretty fast. Again, these are just the variance criteria, and you do have to determine that all 5 are met. So I'll go over them real quick again. A, literal enforcement of the ordinance would cause an unreasonable hardship for the applicant that is not necessary to carry out the general purpose of the land use code. B, there are special circumstances attached to the property that do not generally apply to other properties in the same zone. C, granting the variance is essential to the enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by other property in the same zone. D, the variance will not substantially affect the general plan and will not be contrary to the to the public interest. This next one talks about my favorite one. E, the spirit of the land use ordinance is observed and substantial justice done. A lot of times we as planners will kind of do an analysis of the application as it relates to these criteria. I did not do that in this case. The reason why is the applicant, they did provide a narrative that outlined a few of these criteria, but they didn't outline all of them. And so I will let them, the applicant, present that, how they feel they meet these criteria to you. So what we've got is a proposal. The approximate location is 940 South, 9270 East. That's kind of just a general coordinate, but it is on 850 South Street. There's a subdivision that this is part of. It's called Sunshine Valley. And this, what the owner is proposing is they're proposing to take this. Let me see if I can get a pointer here. Get a pen. It might be a red pen, so that might not be good if I've got the annotate. Here we go. Okay. You've got this lot, which is a lot in a subdivision right now. Can you see that okay?
Mhm.
This 9304, it's kind of a wide, not a very deep lot. That's part of a subdivision. And what the owner's proposing is they're proposing to take this lot and they want to add some property to it here and make that one lot, and then add property to it here and make that another. So essentially we're taking one lot, making it into two. That is the essentially what is being proposed. We have a subdivision application in. You're not considering the subdivision application that will be either the planning commission or the planning director. What you're considering is a request for the owner to have a driveway access this new lot. Now I'll show you, I'll go to my next slide, the next couple of slides here. If my computer will let me.
And that would be a shared one, right? And that's
correct.
that's not considered a flag lot.
It would not be considered a flag lot, no.
Interesting.
I guess technically they're creating three lots. I misspoke. They're taking one lot and some extra property and turning it into three lots. So you can see the where the existing lot lies right now. They're proposing to have their access followed right along here, and maybe this is where my pointer will come in handy. Nope. Oh. You can kind of see the location where that access will be. So the land use code, it currently says regarding stream corridor setbacks and specifically the North Fork, South Fork, and Middle Fork River, it says this: no structure, accessory structure, road, or parking area shall be built within the required setback from a river or stream as measured with the high water mark of the river or stream. The high water mark shall be determined by the Weber County engineer. The areas within the setback shall be maintained in a manner that protects the quality of water in the river or stream and the habitat of native vegetation and wildlife along the river or stream. And then A is where this one applies. Structures, accessory structures, roads or parking areas shall not be developed or located within 100 feet on both sides of the North Fork, South Fork, and Middle Fork of the Ogden. Here we are talking about the South Fork. I've got just an exhibit here that shows you there are kind of two branches of the South Fork that impact this property. And they, without getting a variance, they would not be able to have a driveway access these other two lots that they're proposing. So that's the request for you today, is to grant a variance to allow that driveway. Go ahead.
I was going to say, how close will this driveway be to the stream?
I can show you. So I've got a kind of a comparison view here for you. Now, just to to explain, the blue means that it's been a platted subdivision. That's to show you the extent of the existing lot. And then this is kind of a side-by-side comparison of what they're proposing, but I don't know if I can zoom in here. The stream setback. Here is one branch of it. If you're following me on the north side, the stream setback is this,
Okay,
and it's this. Really what we're talking about is the south stream that he's within 100 feet of. So here's the south stream, if you can see that. You've got a center line that runs right center there. And this is that 100-foot setback. So they are within 100 feet of that southern fork.
What, was there a variance given prior for that driveway?
There wasn't, and there wasn't previously a specific driveway. There was a bridge that was built right here for the road. Now, there probably should have been a variance required back then. For whatever reason, the county did not require the developer to go through a variance for creating these original lots. But
So if I see it right, the only way they could get in is the far left. There's a little sliver of land. Yeah, right there. Is that without a variance, the only option that they have?
there wouldn't be a way for them to get in because again, I wish I could draw, I guess I could. This right here represents what's 100 feet back from the center line. Right here, this line. And it kind of, the two of them kind of connect together because of those branches are so close together. But they could not access these two lots without getting a variance.
So what about? You go up 850 south and then you turn, I'm assuming that's north. Oh, it's land. Okay, so there's no street. That's all landlocked. So we're looking at landlocked lots.
And I can show you an aerial outside of this presentation. Let me see if I can pull that up here for you. So
it's a 200-foot requirement and they're asking for 50% of that.
No, so it's 100. There's nothing allowed to be within 100 feet of any stream, of any river in this case.
Okay.
And they are just proposing to be able to place a shared driveway within that 100 feet.
Within, outside the, respecting the 100-foot, this one confused me. I have to be honest with you. So we're looking at a variance, or I'm not sure where the variance, and I apologize because I was confused.
So what's going on? Our ordinances prohibit anybody from putting a road or a structure within 100 feet of a stream.
Okay, so they want to do it within the 100 feet. How much within the 100 feet? That was my question.
It changes. So let me see if I can draw on this for you.
So are we looking at a 10-foot variance? Are we looking at a 20, a 30, a 40, a 50?
The variance isn't to allow a setback into the stream. It's just to allow the access within as proposed today. So
way. The existing driveway is already there.
it is not there.
No, it's not there.
No
That's
access.
exhausted.
Okay.
So the driveway would always be 100 feet, would respect that criteria. Is that correct? Always?
Would you ask that one more time?
So the driveway would always be at least 100 feet from the stream. Okay, then how much is it going to?
Okay, let me show you.
Okay, I just want a number. Can you just give me a number?
I cannot because it changes because the driveway, the location of the driveway changes in relation to that 100-foot setback. So
So what's the greatest variance? What's the greatest variance you're asking for as far as?
So I'm not asking for a variance. I'm presenting you the proposal.
Okay,
But let me just quickly, let me see if I can show you a little bit better the impact of where this 100-foot setback is and how it relates to the access.
As Mr. Burton does that, let me try and clarify just a little bit. So the code says you can't build within this 100 feet. The variance isn't a request to alter that by a certain amount of feet. The variance is a request to not apply that rule.
So how close can we get to the river then?
If you guys grant a variance, you can get as close as you deem fit. It's one of the reasons why this is a quasi judicial board.
So Rex Mumford would love me and be absolutely shocked right now with me, but I'm not gonna say.
So board members, I've highlighted what
That's the 100-foot.
that is 100 feet from the center line of this south branch, which is, this is the center line in the green, okay? I can't, well, I went up a little bit higher. I couldn't tell you the distance of the specific variance they're asking for because it changes in so many different locations. You can
Well,
see,
it looks like it's right next to it.
so
But there's
here's,
none of.
it is, yes, directly, entirely within the 100 feet. They're not outside of that at all. It appears like they're, a lot of it, they're almost halfway through it. Maybe 50 feet in. But like I said, I can't tell you the exact amount. Like Charlie said, they're just asking to be allowed to be within the 100 feet.
Inside the 100 feet.
Yeah.
Inside the variance. So basically, we're just gonna blow the variance right out of the water, so to speak. It's not going to exist.
Blow the rule out of the water and it won't exist as it applies. That's the request from the applicant.
I am a little confused that as to why they were given a lot, why it was granted in the first place if they couldn't access their own property without a variance.
Well, they could, they just want to have
original
3 different
property.
lots.
They were able to, they were able to plat one lot in this area, and now they want to plat 2 more.
Yeah.
So they were able to plat 1 because they built a bridge, and for whatever reason, the county did not require them to go through a variance to build a bridge, even though that bridge clearly is within 100 feet of the stream.
Yeah, that's where I was getting is I knew that it was within that setback. So I'm just a little confused that that was allowed in the first place.
I think they were as well. But as we noticed this, we said, well, you're proposing more lots. This is a new access, so we'll make you go through a variance.
And then why would the county approve that third lot in the back that has no road access? It would just be.
They haven't.
In certain cases, an owner can propose a shared access easement rather than access through frontage.
And this
so
is
that-
before the planning. It's not been approved.
That's correct. And that is not what's being considered by the board today. I think at one point.
Does
the
this
board-
property have any slope to it, or is that pretty flat?
I cannot speak to the slope, except for, if I had to guess, I would say it's fairly flat. Where it's at in Huntsville, it's not very steep, but I don't have really a contour map. I guess I can show you, but the owners here, they might be able to answer that question for you.
I'm personally uneasy about just throwing out the setback. If there was a number attached to it, then we'd have something to work with, but just to throw it out, my gut instinct is to decline.
So
It
let's,
doesn't meet the spirit of land use code if we just let it go.
Right.
so why don't we let them finish before we start talking about a motion? And then wait for the motion to, and then we can discuss. Does that sound good? In all fairness to the applicant. So,
Thank you.
Mr.
Hi, I'm Steve Drosty. My address is 458 Wild Willow Drive in Camas. So I'm representing the property owners, the developer, and thank you for granting us the opportunity to discuss this. This is an interesting and a bit complicated issue. So I guess if you just give me a couple minutes just to get to some of the background. So the bridge was put in with a stream alteration permit, which by the ordinance allows you to be within the 100-foot setback if you have a stream alteration permit. The purpose of the stream alteration permit was to grant access to property. And, you know, that was approved, that was put in. We did have some circumstances change. There was some property swapping that allowed us to add lots, you know, in accordance with the zoning. Each of these lots does have the proper frontage to be lots. And if the variance is not granted, we do have an alternative to access these lots. We could do further stream alteration permits and put private driveways over the creek. We are asking for this variance because that the preponderance of that shared driveway is it's already like an old rancher road that's already in place. And that was our plan. The hardship as we see it with not granting the variance is the significant disturbance to the natural environment. Putting in the private bridges will alter the stream bank and also cause removal of trees. And at the end of the result, the stream alteration permit allows us to put the structure, the driveway, within the 100-foot setback. So there will be driveways within the 100-foot setback, whether we use the shared driveway or we have to put, you know, two different driveways in. So we see this as far less impactful on the natural beauty of the terrain. And also in terms of hardships, you know, there are some people that get nervous driving over bridges. You know, the bridges are also, you know, frequently louder than just a regular road when you go over them. So those, but the primary hardship we see is there will be further disturbance to the natural environment with, and again, like it will still be putting a structure within a 100-foot setback, and it just will require a stream alteration permit and further structures. So that's the hardship as we see it. The special circumstances, it's beautiful property, but it is bounded by the two forks of the river. And just the nature of the creeks there. There's only two options to access it. The shared driveway within the 100-foot setback. And at some points we are proposing it goes within 10 feet of the river. The creek is bounded by dikes on both sides. We were just deemed to be not in a flood hazard area. And again, for a lot of that driveway, it's going to be there whether we put a bridge or we use the shared access point. So that's the hardship. That's how we see it, how it applies. You know, the enjoyment of the property, it is a beautiful property. And you know, we just want to try and preserve as much of the natural beauty. There's some beautiful trees that are, you know, along the creek. And like I said, the preponderance of that road, it's already a road used by ranchers for the last 90 years. It's already been disturbed. It already is elevated about 3 feet above the natural floor. And that area is predominantly flat, you know, within creeks. So we see this as an opportunity for two additional, you know, residents to be able to enjoy the natural beauty of their property and to be able to access it in the way that they prefer, which is the shared driveway versus the bridges. We don't think this substantially affects the general plan. We have not found anything to that. We don't believe it's contrary to the public interest. You know, the other neighbors going up and down the street will see the same natural beauty versus, you know, the additional bridges. The bridges are also additional access points. So you'll have 3 additional access points on this road as opposed to the 1, which is generally deemed to be an improvement in terms of the safety issue. So we don't see that, but we do see a deprivation of some of the natural beauty to the neighborhood. The spirit of the land use ordinance, what we totally understand the 100-foot setback. We understand the reasoning for it. And there's two ways that we access those lots. We either have the variance granted with the shared driveway, or we apply for stream alteration permits and put the bridges in. Either way, there will be access within that 100-foot setback. We just think this is the best use of the property and causes the least disturbance to the natural environment.
Any questions?
You can't speak from there. You need to come up and you need to share your name and your address before you speak.
Microphone.
Lisa Woolsey, 223 West, 1550 South, Morgan, Utah. And I'm also representing. One point that was also noted in the application, Steve already mentioned that we would approve by FEMA to not be doing. We don't want to disturb those years of flood prevention abilities and diving that was occurred by putting in two additional bridges, as well as the Utah well standards require that you can homeowners can only drill a well within certain areas of multiple things. The river being one, roads being one, driveways, bridges. So we're just encumbering additional burdens on those individuals. By doing so as well.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, we would like to call staff back up for some other questions.
Thank you, Chair. Can you speak, please, to the stream alteration issue?
What specifically would you like me to
Would you
speak?
please explain to me what they just said? Because obviously you were listening, right? And so they're claiming that the stream alteration was the reason why they were able to build the bridge in the first place, and that it would be, it would still encumber the 100-foot setback, and it would be better for it. So can you please address that?
I can, but even if they, regardless of if they get a stream alteration permit, the land use code still says what it says. I think they would still actually need to get a variance, even if they got a stream alteration.
I didn't ask that. What I asked is if you could speak to the alteration variance, if you knew anything about that.
They said that they'll get a stream alteration permit through the state. I can't speak to that. We don't approve those. Those are all done through the state.
I realize you don't approve them. I just figured since you worked on the application and you're very good at being specific on things, I thought maybe you would know.
Okay.
So I'm just asking for some help here.
So just to be clear, if they apply for the stream alteration permit, that doesn't trump the stream setback, right? They would still have to come back and apply for a variance for the stream setback.
Or show that they can access the property without going through a stream setback. That's correct. So even if they get a stream alteration permit, our ordinance still requires them to show that they're outside of a stream setback.
Okay.
Could you put the aerial up that shows the new lots that are proposed? Is there an aerial that shows where the existing trees are? Because I'm thinking that back lot's you're gonna be taking trees out anyway.
Yeah.
So I
Because it's pretty well forested.
should have included the rest of the code in this section here. I apologize to the board members and to the applicant. There is a provision that does allow, let me show you. It may allow an exception to the rule. So right under the section I was reading, there is an exception A, bridges or stream alteration permits approved by the Army Corps of Engineers and State Department of Natural Resources Division of Water Rights. Now, that isn't very specific, but it does offer that as some type of exception. And so they may come back to us and look at that as an option. And we would have to compare to this ordinance to make sure that it meets the code. So I believe that's what the applicant was referring to by getting a stream alteration permit was they could potentially get an exception if they did that.
If they did that, they would be exempt from this 100-foot setback. And they could put a driveway on 3 lots.
That's how the ordinance appears to be written.
Madam Chair, as we look at this ordinance here, we're talking, the exception is for bridges or stream alterations approved by the Army Corps and others. The proposed driveway that goes through 3 lots is not that. It's a proposed driveway, not bridges. I think what the applicant is telling us is that these 3 lots, these 3 proposed lots, have frontage on 850 South Street. The reason why they can't get access across their front property line is because a river is on the front property line. And so what the applicant is telling us is our code says they can build another bridge or another 2 bridges to get across the river across their front property line. And that may be, if I hear the applicant correctly, more impactful to do that to the stream than the request to put a driveway down the side of these 3 lots and avoiding crossing the river again. And so what I'm hearing today is for your consideration to determine whether or not it is more impactful to cross the stream with a stream alteration permit than to allow for a driveway to go through the riparian corridor, through the stream setback. Really, we're just balancing which one is going to cause more harm. What's the point of the ordinance? Is substantial justice done? Is the spirit of the ordinance being upheld? This is kind of one of those things where darned if you don't, darned if you do kind of situations. If we don't approve a variance, they still have the ability to cross the bridge or build a bridge, excuse me, and affect the stream that way.
Sure. We ready to? Go ahead.
I just want to make one comment also that I'm a little concerned that, the Corps of Engineers would do a study and they would determine the impact on that land. But to throw that on the board and decide which is going to be more impactful, a bridge or a road, I don't have the experience of the Corps of Engineers. If they were standing here, I think that we would have the information that we need to decide, is a bridge better or is a road better, a driveway better?
And on that subject, the Board of Adjustments code itself would say that the applicant bears the burden of proof in these circumstances.
Well, and then there's the
All right, Chair, are you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, okay. And I will speak to this and I will speak to each and every one of the issues too. And this is not easy for me. I'm very much a property rights person. But I move that we deny the request for the variance number BOA 2022-03 for the corridor setback, 100-foot stream corridor setback. Primarily, the number one reason is that it sets a precedence. And it's a precedence that affects the whole valley. So if you were just in a little island and it was just you, and we were talking about just that one area, then I agree with you. I would likely, but I don't have that information in front of me to be able to determine for sure and to make that kind of educated decision that your road may indeed be less impactful. But as it stands with the information that I have at this very moment, I cannot in good conscience grant this variance. If I had more detail, if it was a 10-foot setback, if it was a 20-foot setback, if it was, if I had specifics, then possibly I could also make a different decision, but as it stands with the information that I have in front of me, I can in good conscience do anything but move to deny. And I will speak to that. So I don't believe there are special circumstances that are attached to this property. I believe that there is clear evidence that as in that's already existing in a bridge going across so that you can have separate and individual roads over to the house. I do think it affects the general plan in that I was a part of the general plan in the last revision, and it is incumbent on me, I feel at this very moment, to keep the spirit of that law and the spirit of that plan into protecting the setbacks for the rivers. And we have actually given setbacks in the past, but this is, again, egregious in my opinion. I don't believe that it inhibits your ability to build on the property or to enjoy your property. I think you have the same rights as everybody around you that have had to deal with the same issues. Like I said, it does affect the general plan, in my opinion, and the spirit of the land use ordinance in denying, I think, is observed and justice done for everybody else in the valley. So that's my motion with an explanation.
And I would add to that, that the property right to re-subdivide is not.
That's not before
I know
us.
we're not dealing with that, but that's part of the request, but there's a property right to the existing lots as they are now.
Chair, I respectfully request that what you just said be removed from my motion.
All right.
Because it doesn't have any effect on the motion.
Okay, you have a second?
I'll second that as well. I think that was explained extremely well, so second it.
Hard for me.
All
Be
All in favor,
quite
say
honest. Aye.
Aye.
We can discuss too.
Oh.
If you want to discuss or explain anything, okay. All right, I'm sorry, Chair.
Any opposed? All right, maybe we'll see you again. Next item on our agenda is training.
Chair, in this portion of the meeting, it's not governed by the Open and Public Meetings Act, meaning me giving you a training is not a meeting under the Open and Public Meetings Act. So I would request, and I'll leave it to the board to decide, that you to adjourn the meeting and then just allow the training to happen after the meeting. That way we don't have to take minutes on it. You can ask questions freely. The public doesn't have to scrutinize a training for you. So that's, if you want to keep it open in public, you're welcome to, but it's not required to be.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? And
So moved.
Second that.
say aye? Aye.
Rex missed him. Oh, he just would be so proud of me. Yeah, that's right.